All right. All right. What's up, folks? It's your boy J Biv, John Branch, the fourth. Trying to figure out how I want to handle my whole streaming setup right now, since everything wants to give me issues. See if I can move the mic here, maybe. What I need to do is use my mic arm that I had that I didn't want to use for a minute because it's annoying, but we'll see. What's up, y'all? Hello. Welcome to the stream. Will this be available for replay? It will. I will definitely have this up later, so make sure to come check it out. We got Florida in the house. What's up? Also, Team Fuji XH1. Let's go. So basically, what I wanted to do today, you know what? Let me figure out this. Let me figure out this arm real quick. Let's set it up the right way, y'all. Let's do this for real. I should have just went ahead and done this before the stream, so my bad, y'all. Alright, so we need a random cloth because last time I used this thing, it scratched up my little IKEA desk. Because IKEA is great and all, but it's cheap. And it scratches up easily. Does anyone else hear an echo? I hope not. Is it the music that's echoing? Volume is low, cool. Let's fix this, y'all. Let's do better with our lives. Is this gonna block my face? It's gonna be me and a big arm just chilling. Oh, everything's low? Huh. Hello. I wish there was like an overall volume and I could just like turn that thing up in general. Dang, we ain't got no audio? What is going on, y'all? All right. This is like the worst right now. We got this cable or oh no, guys. What is this? What is life? Okay, I'm just gonna leave this here for now, but this is not what I have envisioned. My gain at all the way down, all the way up. This is all the way down, okay. So we'll put it like here. Cool. Y'all can't even see my beautiful face no more. Okay, well, we'll do this for next time and get it right. This cable is like irking me to the end of the world, though. I might have to do something about that, because it's literally, it's like all I can see, and I can't. Anyways, how's everyone doing? How's everyone feeling? We got some Fuji users in the house. And again, today we're basically just gonna be looking at using, or just the X-T4 files from a wedding I shot. It was a little wedding on Monday. Maybe I'll move this. Y'all, I'm so sorry. I can't. So in North Carolina right now, we're slowly opening up. We're in what they're calling phase 2 of reopening. So there's like small reopening rules, basically. We can go out of our houses, but they're basically being like, y'all should probably stay in the house. Like, try not to come out too much for obvious reasons. Also, with the new rules, basically, we can have events indoors of 10 people and outdoors of 25 people. And 25 people at that point, you're getting like slightly normal, like intimate wedding / elopement type feels. So currently in North Carolina, we kind of can do weddings, but you know, this thing is mad contagious too. So that's a whole other subject. Got Callie in the house. EOS R user, what's up? If I was still on Canon, I would definitely be going with the mirrorless stuff right now. Them things are looking nice. Shot a little pandemic wedding this past weekend too. Nice. It was weird. Yeah, some of the days definitely they can be kind of. It's different. It's very different. That's all I can say. This day actually felt fairly like a normal wedding day to me. I don't know if that's just because like I missed weddings and it's been a while since I've done one or what. Okay, well, the cable's still there, but at least my face is here, so we'll just have to work with that, and maybe one of these days I'll have a more professional looking setup. Is it okay for me as a photographer to buy presets as a photographer instead of making my own? Yeah, there's nothing wrong with presets. I don't think. Now, if you want to get like extra about the art and stuff like that, you want to be like super artsy, then maybe not. But at the end of the day, like, your art is your art. And the biggest thing I would say is that you should at least know how to edit photos and then know how to tweak those presets to fit your style. Don't just like take a preset and then be like, cool, that's all I'm gonna do. Like, take a preset as a starting place and then work with it to create your own style type of thing. Hey everyone, newly subbed to the channel, fell in love with your content. Thank you so much. Just got more and more intrigued about Fujifilm, top notch. Oh, speaking of Fujifilm, so one thing I'm gonna talk about as well during the stream. So basically what I wanna do is we're gonna look at some X-T4 files. So straight up raw files from the wedding I shot. Yet again, it was a small wedding, so we are staying within the rules. I'm a big fan of, you know, just following the rules and making sure that I'm not like out of line as far as what the government wants and everything. So we were still inside the rules. Very small wedding. Obviously I was there wearing a mask and all that good stuff, but we're gonna look at the files, and then I'm also gonna talk to you all about kind of my first impressions of the X-T4, because this was my first time like really using it. And I don't know if y'all saw my 2 videos, the reasons to buy an X-T4 and a reason not to, which the not to is the more popular one, which kind of sucks, but because I like Fujifilm. I wish that one wasn't. I'm trying to become a Fuji X photographer, and they see me talking about not buying an X-T4. But yeah, in those videos I talked about some of the reasons why you should and shouldn't. So now I have some hands-on experience and I have some thoughts. So feel free to throw some questions in the chat. I'll probably edit a little bit, but for the most part, what I wanted to do was just kind of look at the files. I've edited some of them already, and I don't think I'm really seeing a difference in the files. So that's one thing. Like I don't feel like the image quality has changed from the X-T3. It feels very much the same. Do you always shoot in RAW, and does that improve what you can do with editing? Yes, always shoot in RAW. It can be a little annoying to have to edit all your photos sometimes, but just an example, let's look at this real quick. This was the X-T4. I'm just gonna play around with this, but who's that, Caitlin? Yeah. So just check this out real quick, what you can do with a RAW file. So I'm just gonna level it out, or actually I'll put it in auto so all the lines are straight. I'm just gonna crop it in a little bit, give them that little center. Let's use auto. Yeah. And I'll just go ahead and put my preset on it for whatever. And then now, like, if I wanted to, I can bring these shadows way up and exposure way up. And like, obviously this is not the greatest in the world because I underexposed it on purpose, but you can't do this at all with a JPEG. You just can't. And that's why you shoot RAW, because you can literally be like, hey, look at there, noise cancel everything and try to save this photo from the darkness. But yet again, this is not a great example, so let's all forget we saw that. We're gonna just reset this. We got Ryan in the house. What's up? Love the channel. Question: I'm dealing with X-T4 for gimbal plus X-T3 for wedding videos. That sounds pretty good. That sounds like a good setup. Switching a year from 5D Mark III to X-T3, X-T30. Nice. Team Fuji in the house. Are you planning to make more use of your 90 since it's become more usable with the X-T4's IBIS? I'm on the fence of purchasing one. I don't, so with my stuff, I tend to shoot very wide most of the time. So I have a hard time with the 90 because I feel like I can't line my shots up the way I want to because it's so close and I have to stand like 50 years away from my subject, and I'm not a fan of that. But I mean, yeah, maybe I'll start using the 90 more, but probably not. I mean, in our current situation, yeah, definitely will probably start using the 90 a bit more. But that 56 is just so good. I don't see myself really turning from it. So there's some of its dynamic range. I just added 2 stops of exposure to this. Shooting with the 35 f2. Yet again, people always ask me, what about low light situations? So this was the X-T4 in a fairly low light situation. It was pretty dark. 35 f2 at 800 ISO, 1/50th of a second because of IBIS. Now, yet again, if people are moving around, the IBIS is not going to save you for anything. But if you're doing stuff like this and you're in a dark room and like people are just standing there and you're telling them to, hey, stand here, IBIS all the way. John converting people with Fuji. I know, I'm trying to, y'all need to tweet Fuji and be like, make this boy a Fuji X photographer. Get me in there. Mostly use 16 and 35 f1.4. Yeah, exactly. 23 and 35 are like my focal lengths. I can shoot on those for a whole day and be fine with it. I had a 92, sold it after a month. LOL. Got the 50 instead, playing on some 56 back. Yeah, the 90s, it's just so long. The only reason I literally got it for a church that told me I had to stand in the very back of the church and not go anywhere. And I was like, word, y'all? And then that's when I was like, I need to buy a 90. What is this little blue dot? Is that on the file? Looks like it is. Looks like it is. So ISO 800. This is our grain. Yet again, this is Lightroom. So obviously it's like wormy. And then this one is noise canceled a bit with, I can actually raise this up a little bit. So yeah, it's a little noisy. On the left is straight out of camera. See, I don't think the quality has really changed too much. But I mean, this looks pretty good to me. I have no problems with this at all. It's more so stuff like the IBIS and things. That's a lot of the little stuff is what the big deal with the X-T4 is. Get some black and white in here. I had some injuries, so we got some stitches. Yeah, good as new. Can you use the 23? What? Be subbed for the 16 if that's all you can start with. Yeah, the 23 and the 16 are very similar. Obviously with the 16 you're just getting a wider shot, and you don't want to get too close with something like the 16 because then you're going to start getting that like almost fisheye looking kind of feel to stuff. So 16 and 23 definitely can work together. You just want to watch out for that stuff. Just got a 1655 so far. It's my absolute favorite lens. Plus it has really close focusing. Nice. I've been photographing over 500 weddings without zoom. Yeah, you get used to it. It's the same, like I don't feel at a loss for not having a zoom. And then like small things will happen. Like for instance, this first look here, I generally always shoot it with the 56, but I didn't have my little bag on my back. I usually will take it off during the day when I'm just doing some getting ready stuff because I don't need it. And I forgot to bring it with me, so I didn't have my 56. So I had to shoot this with the 35. So it's not, you know, the look I wanted, but I mean, it's not bad. You kind of like know where you need to stand for stuff. So you get very used to knowing where you need to be and what lens you want to use. And it just like becomes second nature at that point, rather than feeling like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to zoom. How am I going to catch the moments? Like you'll know the moments before they happen, and you'll be able to be where you need to be. It's not hard at all. Let's pull back this orange a little bit. Best budget camera for photography. Just bought silver 50 f2. Nice. Budget cameras, I'm not familiar with like every single variation of cameras, but I definitely know that like trying to get like either older Fujis, if you're looking for Fuji, or like the little small one, like the X100V and all that stuff, that may be a place you want to look. So I mean, yeah, the files, they don't look, and let's actually, let me show you some comparisons between the two, I guess. Obviously, they're not going to be like shot for shot exacts, because we're talking like different lenses and stuff too. Yeah, X-T30 is definitely, I would consider a budget camera. And it's good to start with too, because it has interchangeable lenses. So, and it's tiny, like look at this thing. It's so small. And yeah, Fuji's always putting out good stuff. Like you can get an XT, the XT2 is still good. Like just because they keep making new ones doesn't mean you gotta jump up for it. This thing is small. It uses all the same lenses. So you can get the 90mm on this if you want to, and just have like a ridiculously large lens on it. And the quality looks the same as the X-T3. So it's like, you know, there's only a couple features that aren't there, and it's really not that big of a deal. Get the X-T20. Yep. T2 Pro 2, even the T1. Yep. What about the 23 F1 4? Are you still thinking about it replacing the F2? I am still thinking about it, but it's also not one of those things that like has me over here like, oh, I really need to get the 1.4. I have not gotten in a situation where I was like, oh, I wish I had the 1.4. It's nice. I'm not gonna front, but it's really not changing my whole life. So here's the X-T3 that we all know and love with the 23. And we got our like normal worming and stuff. There's nothing here that has me like alarmed. I'm at ISO 320. And obviously Lightroom and Fuji files are not friends, so we got worming everywhere. That's just kind of the case. And then let's pull in an X-T3 file, which I think, or X-T4. Yeah, so this is X-T4, and our settings are about the same. 320 ISO. 250 of a second f2, so like literally the same settings. And it looks like the worms aren't as bad. I have to go to the file itself. Let me mark this so we can see it. Don't get too hung up on gear. The older Fuji bodies are brilliant. Yep. Yep, with the f2 lens, you'll save a lot of money with them f2 lenses, and they're good. It's what I use. They really aren't that bad. So yeah, here's an X-T4 file. I mean, it does look like it's handling the noise a little bit better, but also I don't know if that could be the lens or not. Yeah, I feel like the noise looks a little bit better. We're at, you know, shot for shot exact same settings. What? Oh, there we go. It's hard to tell too. I feel like it's a little bit sharper, but that could just be the lens. I don't really like pixel peeping either, so I'm not gonna sit here and like. I mean, yeah, it's hard to tell. I really think that it's just the same. I don't see any difference. The color difference is just the lens. Because for some wonky reason, Fujifilm lenses are so different from each other. Like, not even a little bit. What would you say are the current editing trends at the moment? It used to be darker mooding images with browns, oranges, and reds, noticing more of a natural lighter look. I mean, it's kind of like, I feel like the brownish mood is, it's still around. A lot of people still use it. I know in my area, it's just all bright and airy, and it's kind of annoying actually. You have all the photographers with their like extra overexposed photos, and it's, I don't know, it's just too much. I like to sit somewhere in the middle, kind of keep my colors as natural as I can. I mean, y'all have seen it, like when I edit, you know, it's really not gonna change the colors too much. So here is an edit, and then let's see if we can match this other file real quick. And let me find a better photo. Well, this is one I edited already. So I mean, yeah, you can almost not tell the difference between these. It looked like the tint was a little different. Where'd it go? Now I'm lost. Oh, there it goes. See if we can tint up a bit. I mean, yeah, they're like, quality is about the same. So that's one big thing. Like if you're looking at the X-T4 and you already have a T series and you're like, oh, it's the quality of the images is not the reason to switch at all. They're basically gonna be the same. Let's see. Why don't you use Canon or Sony? I don't know, I just don't. I was on Canon, that's what I started with. Big fan of Canon, I love their stuff. I do miss using Sigma lenses. I absolutely loved the Sigma lenses. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, I started using Fuji and I just absolutely loved it. It just really felt good. So yeah, I just stuck with it. Yet again, at the end of the day, people will sit there and harp on gear and what camera system you use and which camera system is better. And at the end of the day, it's like, what works for you and your style? Do you know your camera? Do you know its limits? And can you create good photos? Like a really good photographer should be able to create really good photos no matter what camera you give them. So how do you keep your editing and images consistent when editing and trends are always changing? I don't care about trends. Like, I really don't. I could care less. So basically what I do is I pick a style that I like, which this is my natural fills preset, which I just now finally got to a place where I liked my own look of my photos. I can show y'all some of my old stuff. Let's see if we can find something. Let's see if we can go like way back into time. How far back does this go? 2016, 17? Yeah, let's see what we have in here. I don't even remember who these people are anymore. Oh, this isn't even that old. It's old, but it's like... Is this pre-Fuji? Yeah, this is definitely pre-Fuji. Yeah, this is pre-Fuji. So, I mean, my stuff isn't like so widely different from what it used to be, but it definitely is different. The colors are very different and stuff. And like, I didn't like my old photos. I just didn't like them as far as editing. So this is with the Canon 6D. And back then I was using Mastin Labs, and I would tweak the Mastin Labs presets and stuff. So obviously you can tell this is me. It looks very much like my overall shooting style. Yeah, this is so old. My black and whites were so flat. But yeah, good stuff. And yeah, I don't miss my, you know, that extra bit of bokeh you got from shooting full frame. Like, okay, that's great. I really don't miss it. You know, there goes a Brenizer. Why don't you use linear gradient? I mean, most of the time I don't need it. I'm a very like get it right in camera type of person. Just like get what you want in camera. The only time I'll use linear gradient is if like the sky is so extra blown out and then I want to like bring it back just a little bit. So I'll do like linear gradient on exposure or something. Let's see some more old photos. So those were from 2016. Yeah, these are old. This is Alexis Bellon. She's a YouTuber as well. So I did a couple shoots with her. She's cool peoples. This was also Canon 6D. Pre the Natural Fills preset pack. Some of these photos are soft. And see, that's the thing, like, you sit there and you can be like, oh, cool. You know, I got this full frame camera, and then you like miss the focus all the time because depth of field. So I don't know, I'm like half and half. This is cool. I don't even remember these photos. This is so long ago. Lockdown making you edit 2016 photos. I don't even think I have the RAWs of these anymore. I am kind of curious to like go back and re-edit some old work. But yeah, so this was when I was back on Canon. Oh, this was probably with the 105. Yeah, that was definitely the 105. I loved that lens so much. When you shoot, what film simulation or recipe do you use normally? Free presets? Maybe. We'll see. So recipe, I'm pretty much doing classic chrome. And then I just changed the highlights and shadows a little bit. I don't do anything special. I was actually trying to mess around and see if I could create the Natural Fills preset as a recipe, but I wasn't able to do that. So I might look back into it, see if I can pull that off somehow. How good is Fuji X-T4? I'm a Canon user, but thinking of shifting to Fuji. It's pretty good. I liked it. I definitely like shooting with it. So Let's talk about my thoughts on the X-T4, which I have mine right here. So this was the first time of me actually shooting with it. So thoughts, personal thoughts. First off is the battery is beastie. I don't know if y'all can see this, but this is the same battery that I shot with all day. And if you can see the battery indicator on the bottom there, I'm on the last little bar. And that's from a full day of shooting. I was shooting for like 6 hours on one battery. I shot 1,400 photos on one battery. I went and bought 2 extra batteries just in case I needed them and didn't use them at all. So when they talk about the batteries being good, they mean it. It's not just some marketing stuff. The battery is way better. I can't even imagine this thing with the grip on it, with 2 extra batteries in it. I probably wouldn't have to change batteries at all. Go through a whole wedding day. And for a mirrorless camera, that's insanity to be like, yeah, put my battery grip on it and just never change the battery. So, yeah. The battery on the X-T4 is amazing. IBIS is good. I was definitely playing around with it a bunch. And it was cool stuff. Let me go back to X-T4 images. But I didn't use that, like, I mean, IBIS really was more so if I was shooting something in a dark room at really low shutter. So, like, I think this shot is an example. Use a probe lens for macro. Might have to try it. Yeah, so this was 320 ISO at 1/10 of a second. This was handheld. There's a little bit of camera shake in there. Or actually, is that just the grain? Yeah, no, that was a little bit of camera shake. Is the X-T4 good for video? Yes, it is awesome for video. The flip screen I do not like. I just don't. I don't like the flip screen at all. Well, I take it back. The flip screen is a situational thing. So for me, the other day at the wedding, I was shooting, and actually this was at the end of the day. So it was, they had like a small little gathering. It wasn't really a reception, just everyone kind of hanging out. And when I was shooting stuff like this, just this random, like off to the side, kind of catching people's reactions as they talk to each other and stuff. Usually when I do that, I'll flip the screen out. So when I have my X-T3, right, I'll be off in the corner with like a 56 on. And when I want to shoot like that, I don't want it to be obvious. So I don't want to bring it up to my eye. So what I'll do is flip the screen out. And you can just quickly, easily, you know, just be shooting, flip the screen out and down and have it out like this now. So that I can just kind of hold it down by my hip, look down at it and shoot. So people don't really know what I'm doing. They don't really see me, and I can catch better reactions like that. That's easy to do. To flip the screen out like that, it's easy to get to. Now, the X-T4, you gotta flip the whole screen out and flip it around. And then what's weird to me is since the screen is out on the side, I feel like I'm not lined up the same way because what I'm looking at is to the left of where I'm actually framing stuff, and it's, I don't know, it just doesn't work for me. I can't get down with it. Like, I really can't. So for video stuff now, I'm loving the flip screen so far. Being able to face it towards myself is awesome. I use it for my top down shots sometimes, so I can flip the screen out and towards me like that. So even while it's pointing down, I can still see the screen. So it's that type of stuff that's really cool, but I actually don't really like the flip screen. For photos, it was mad annoying to have to be like, oh, let me pull the thing and flip the thing, and Now, I will say it's cool that you can shoot it straight down. So if you're shooting something on the ground, you can do it like that. So there's some advantages to it, but I just don't like it. Videos on it is good. IBIS for the video is good. The files look good. Obviously, it's like the same processor and everything as the X-T4. So all that stuff looks good. So yeah, overall, I think the X-T4 is a great camera. It really comes down to like what you want out of your camera. That's probably the biggest thing from it. It's like, what do you want from your camera? What do you think you need? Rather than just trying to like pick around the specs and stuff. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to like your approach to shooting and how you shoot. That's really what's gonna make the difference. Not like, oh, this camera has more megapixels than that one. Like, are you printing big? Do you need more megapixels? Because if not, you're just kind of, you know, getting things to have them. I am finding that the colors are a little bit different when I'm editing though. Oh yeah, and the white balance on the X-T4, it seems different. It also has this auto white priority, which is, it's kind of weird the way it approaches white balance. So that's the biggest thing that feels different to me. Like I feel in a lot of my photos, I'm adding a whole bunch more magenta in there. So I don't know why that is. But I mean, yeah, overall, the X-T4 is looking good. Good stuff. On the wedding day, are you shooting aperture priority or fully manual? Mix up the two. I tend to shoot fully manual. And honestly, too, especially because the Fuji is, with it being crop sensor, you know, f2 is more like f3 point something. So really, I'm never stopping down. Like literally, I just don't ever stop down. Unless for some reason I need something more in focus, I'm wide open all day. So pretty much the thing I end up changing most is my shutter speed and like maybe my ISO. Well, no, I take that back. ISO and shutter speed change pretty often. Like it's pretty normal for me to be jumping in and out. So I'm just syncing settings between photos. Yet again, I edit like a wedding photographer because I am a wedding photographer, and speed is kind of the name of the game when you're a wedding photographer. You can't sit around and nitpick photos and make them super perfect and whatever. Like, I mean, obviously you can, but you're gonna waste a lot of time. And when you have like thousands of photos, that's just, you can't do that. True. Was wondering because I am noticing how much your ISO is, how low your ISO is. Usually auto ISO, I'm finding is pushing it higher. Yeah, so one thing with auto ISO, I don't ever use it, but if I were using it, and I do have my camera set up like this, I have them go only to what I want to do. But yet again, and this is why I ended up switching manual, because when I started and I was on Canon still, I used aperture priority. Like aperture priority was my jam. I loved aperture priority so much. But the way that it figures out its exposure and how it wants to get it is always weird to me. Like I can be like, cool, I can keep my ISO low and then know where I want my shutter to be, depending on if people are moving around or not. Or I can even underexpose it a little bit. Whereas your camera is just gonna be like, I want a perfect exposure. let's bump up the ISO because I don't want the shutter to be too low. You know, like it just, the way it thinks about it is weird. What's the highest ISO? I don't like going over 1600. I'll go up there, and if I do go high, 2000 is like my max usually. I don't like going up high at all. Actually, yeah, I don't think I've ever shot at a wedding over 2000 ISO. I'm pretty sure I never have. With Fuji, at least. Cool advice, yeah. Yeah, that, because the auto modes, they're cool and all, but they just, the way they decide stuff just makes no sense. Which lenses would you retcon for wedding video and photography? Retcon? Which lenses? So if you're doing any video, definitely stick with the f2 lenses. Don't get the old ones, the f1.4. Like, don't do that. The focusing system is quiet and it's nice. The f2 lenses are the way to go. And you can make your light up. You can get your light. So if you're doing video, definitely hold on to the f2 lenses. Those are the way to go. But pretty much my favorite lenses are pretty much the ones I have right now. 35 f2, 23 f2, 16 2.8. I'm kind of, it works. It's not my favorite in the world. 56 f1.2 is a must, but do not use it for video at all. Don't. It is the worst for video. That thing hunts so bad, and when it hunts, it's loud. It's like, and you're like, ah. And then the 90 is probably good for video, especially if you need to record something very far away, like ceremony stuff. Like if I was doing video for weddings and I needed to set up a tripod on the side, long distance, 90 straightforward. Like I would just pick the 90. There'd be no questions. F2 times 1.3 equals F3, which means, yep, exactly. And that's kind of, see, those are the type of things where people are like, oh, it's not full frame. Bro, I can shoot wide open all day and all my photos be tack sharp, because technically my wide open is like 3. Even with the 23 f1.4, that's like f2 basically on a full frame. So like you just shoot wide open. I literally don't ever stop down. Like I only stop down if it's hot or something. Did I get pictures of her walking in? Oh yeah, those with the other camera. Because yeah, right now we're only looking at the X-T4 images, not the whole wedding day. Pull that contrast back a little bit because it's already contrasty because they're standing in direct sunlight. This was a fun picture. They wanted to jump up on this playground, so I threw my 16 on there. So this is a great example. I stopped this down because we're like in bright sunlight. I'm already down at ISO 160. So it's like, okay, it's super bright sunlight. Let me stop down a little bit. My shutter speed's up at 1250. Great sensor and lenses to back it up. Exactly. And yet again, at the end of the day, yes, it's not full frame, but can you take good photos? Like, you know, someone who's a great photographer and gives me reasons, like, who's that, Manny Ortiz? He put up a video recently on like the reasons he likes full frame. And so that's legit, that's fine. It's, the problem is there's a lot of photographers who just think you need full frame, and they're not even really skilled photographers yet. And I'm not trying to act like I'm like the best photographer in the world. But yet again, if you're good, you're good. And you can do it on full frame or not. Even Manny's saying if he wasn't doing like portrait shoots with like a model like he does, he's totally fine with like a crop sensor Sony or like the Fuji system for stuff. Cause I mean, it makes sense. And especially, yet again, for something like weddings, while you are shooting it and you want to shoot it artistically, there's also a whole nother set to your photography that's happening. You're doing customer service. You're serving a customer. Wedding photography is customer service, like 80% hands down. And that stuff matters more than, oh my goodness, the background is so blown out. And yet again, I'm not saying that don't care about your photos and how they look, but you need to be able to weigh out what's most important with who you're serving. Like, you have to weigh that stuff out. You can't just be like, I need the best camera that has the best quality, and then not even use it because you stop down to like F4 all the time because you're like, I gotta have sharp photos. Why not just shoot crop then? There was, oh, low light performance, but you use flashes. Like, everyone talks about low light performance, but how often are you shooting when you don't have extra lights? Because to me, that's a problem. If I'm ever caught somewhere and I don't have lights, like, that's what photography is. It's like using light, and if you don't have it, you bring some. So low light performance is cool and all, but I'm not shooting in the dark. You know, even this dress shot that I took, it was in a dark church, but I had a tripod. Do you know, like, so like, look at my settings: 1.3 seconds, f5, ISO 160. Because I'm on a tripod, I can do that. It's still life. And I had a tripod. So like, why does low light performance matter? Like, I don't know. It's kind of like the old school thinking of like getting it right in camera because it's film. Like, I think digital photographers need to get back to that just a little bit, rather than relying on their cameras so heavily and acting like that's the only way to do stuff. You know, like, get good now. It's just understanding light and understanding what you need to do with stuff. Got my sweet tea. Gotta get my southern in. Do you ever drop down to ISO 80? Yes. I've gone low ISO a couple of times, especially if it's like super bright outside. I think I actually did it. I'm pretty sure I did it at this wedding. Probably during the ceremony. It was like mad bright. Let's see, what's my ISO on this stuff? ISO 160. See, I'm way down. This was also still pretty low. Yep, ISO 160. What was I here? Still 160. I'm pretty sure I dropped below it. Maybe it was on the other camera. I switched to the 56 and I may have, nope, still at 160. This was overexposed. I should have did something. I'm pretty, yeah, there it goes. ISO 100. Is that as low as the X-T4 goes? Oh no, it went to 80. But yeah, I went to 100, which is that under low ISO. Do you find the hunting improves on the X-T4 compared to the X-T3? It seemed like it did. So after the ceremony, I got the couple walking out, and then from where I was, I shot everyone else walking out with the 56, and I couldn't really hear it hunting. I was actually worried that it was missing the focus, which it looks like it was. I mean, they were walking fairly fast too. That's the 50. Those old focusing systems, they just can't keep up. Like, whenever I do something like this with the 56, I'm happy to get like 1 or 2 good photos. Cause yeah, I'm at 1/3200th of a second on my shutter. So these should have been like tack sharp. And I mean, they are. I'm also at f1.2, so I should have stopped down. Yeah, like, you can see it. The way it focuses kind of slow. So see, it's like on, and it's trying to catch up, and then it'll go on again. So it improved it, but not by that much. Those lenses still, they just old focusing can't keep up. On your videos, I never see you changing focus settings or adjusting your focus point or something. Could you please reveal what focus settings you generally use? Yeah, give me 1 second, I'll show y'all that. These streams are pretty informative. Thank you, I'm glad it helps. People kill when they bring up low light. Yeah, it's just like, ooh, how's the low light performance? Use a flash. You don't need low light performance if you're lighting up the room. I mean, come on, you look at people, so you'll sit there and hear people talk about low light performance and then turn around and talk about using like 8200s for off-camera flash during the reception and shooting at ISO 100. So it's like, when do you need low light performance? Sparkler exit, maybe, but most people even use flashes for that. So, I mean, now there are people who will shoot low light with no flashes, so I'm not hating. These are just opinions overall. As long as you're making good photos, I don't care how you do it. That's basically what it comes down to. Understand your camera, understand its limits, and that's it. So let's talk about focusing on the Fuji. I wish I could show y'all. So that new thing dropped where you're supposed to be able to use your camera as a webcam directly into the system, but I haven't been able to figure out how to get it to work. The dude was saying, set your camera to single and then go to USB, so connection settings, so set it to USB tether, shooting auto. And then you hook it up, but this is probably not even what I want. And then you're supposed to be able to use it as a webcam. But you know, I'm not even gonna do that. All right, focusing. The question is about focusing. So I'll try my best to show you all, but it's gonna be a little weird trying to show it like over the thing. I might be able to, let me see if I can add this webcam. Y'all are gonna see my messy room though. Y'all gonna see the truth. Let's see. Video capture device. Webcam. Oh. Ah. Look at that mess. This is how a YouTuber space really looks. It's just super messy. Okay. Does this work kind of? So generally I always stay in single point focus like this. And I'll just move. Oh, where's my thing? Oh, there it is on this side. And I'll just move my focus point like that. Literally, I'll just use the nub and move it. And I do that most of the day. I don't ever use face detection at all. Like, I just don't. Especially at weddings. There's too many people and your camera, especially in continuous autofocus, will be like, eh. So that's another case. I never use continuous autofocus. I'm always on S. The only time I go to continuous are on photos like these, where someone's walking. So like processionals and recessionals at the wedding, I'll do continuous autofocus for those. Now, when I'm doing continual autofocus, what I do, and this goes, I have videos about how I set up my Fuji camera. So I press, I think it's up, yeah, and that gives me access to my focusing modes. So when I'm gonna do continuous, I switch to zone, and I get a box like that. I switch to continuous, and then I have back button focusing to this button here. Is it? It's one of these. It's hard when I'm not holding it. Okay, I set it to AFL. And so I'll turn that on. So you see it focusing on me now. So I'll hold that while I'm shooting. And that's how I do continuous if people are walking towards me or away from me. And that's the only time I do that. Like if I'm doing a walking shot or something, which I think I did it with the X-T4. Yeah, so like these shots, Oh, you can't. Sorry, guys. All of these shots were just like that. So set it to C for continuous. I should have a scene for this, but so C for continuous, switch it to zone. And a lot of times I'll have the zone either big like that, like the big zone there, or I'll make it a smaller zone, which you can do by hitting the nub and then changing your dial. You can make it a bigger or smaller. And then basically I don't, oh God, my chair broke. I don't have to worry about focusing on them because I'm walking backwards and just holding the autofocus. I know that my zone is big enough to have them in focus. So you can see like a nice big zone like that. I just hold down on the back button, focus, and they're right in front of me. And then I can just shoot while I'm going. But for the majority of the day, I'm just shooting single. So no continuous autofocus and single point. Because that's another thing, everyone always talks about focusing systems. And see, like, yet again, I'm not hating. I just feel like because of the digital age, photographers have gotten lazy. So they just turn their thing on continuous autofocus and back button focus and hold it down, and then they complain that the camera missed focus. And it's like, bro, focus your camera. Which lens is better for focusing? Which camera has better face detection autofocus? Why don't you focus the camera? And obviously, real old school people used to do it manual, and they would know exactly where 3 feet was in front of them, and they would just set their camera to 3 feet and just go stand there and shoot the shot. That's real. I can't do that. But on the same end, like, you shouldn't depend on your camera that hard and then be mad that it missed the focus just because you have it set to continuous for like ever. Which is why I use single point focus, because I know where I'm putting the focus and I know when I'm focusing. So for group shots, do you just stop down a little bit and focus somewhere in the middle? Yeah, generally. And I don't even do that all the time. Hold on, I got an important text that came through. Got this business going down. I don't think I even did it for these group shots though. Yet again, because Fuji, my f2 is already like f3 something on a full frame camera. So I just, half the time I don't even stop down. So here's a group shot of 4 people. And okay, yeah, I stopped down a little bit. I went to f2.5. But yeah, I don't stop down a lot. It's rare. It is rare that I even go to 3.2 ever. Like super rare. Most of the time I'm just wide open at f2. Evenings I wondered, did I keep it stopped down? Yeah, I did. Go back to some of these X-T3 photos. But yeah, so I'm happy with my purchase of the X-T4. But yet again, I got it mainly as a backup video camera. I'm probably not gonna use it for photos that much, but it's not like it's bad. It's definitely a great camera. Do you expand your focus point for group shots? I do not. I usually just focus kind of in the middle, still using single point focus. So here is the X-T3 ISO 800, 1/80th of a second. That's another thing too, like, I can't remember the name of that rule, like your shutter speed should be at least double of your focal length or something to not get camera shake as bad. So like that works as well on Fuji cameras. So if you have, you know, a 35, you can pretty much go down to like 1/40th of a second, 1/50th, and not really get camera shake, which is kind of cool. Either that or I just have steady hands, which I'm pretty sure is not the case. We had some actual wind, so I was able to pull this off. The best way to pull off these veil shots is if there's wind. So I'm holding it here on the left like this, and I think I'm shooting with a 23. Yeah, so I'm here holding the veil like this, kind of in front of the camera, and then just shooting at them, and the wind is filling in this kind of middle section here. These shots are hard to pull off if you don't have actual wind. I've done them before, but it's like I have people holding the veil and it's just weird. But yeah, so the verdict on the X-T4, it's nice. If you're looking to upgrade and you want a better photo camera and you're like on the X-T2 or something of that sort, I would say definitely jump in there and get it. The shutter is amazing. The shutter is amazing. That thing is so quiet. It's like wrongfully quiet. Ah, the white balance changed. Like I cannot get over how quiet the X-T4 is. What are your thoughts on the X-T3 still being a viable option if you only do still photography? Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm sticking with X-T3s for video or for photo. I think they're still a great option. And yet again, as far as quality goes, like photo quality, it doesn't look like the X-T4 has any additional photo quality at all. Like the quality of these RAW files is looking the same to me. So it's really only the features of the camera that are really its selling point. Like the battery life or the IBIS or the super fast. That shutter is stupid fast. Like when you go to its settings to set, I mean, low. This is burst low. Let me see, I'll block my face so it'll focus. With burst low, it goes to 8 frames a second or 8 photos a second. Like, you can't even press down the shutter without taking at least 2 photos. Like, that's how fast it is. I literally turn it down to like 6 frames or 7 frames a second because the shutter is just that fast. And then when you go to high shutter, it's like 14 frames a second. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with my X-T3s for photo. And then the X-T4 is gonna be my mainly video camera. And yet again, like one of my biggest gripes is the screen. The articulating screen is a much better option for photo, especially for something like wedding photography. Even portraits too, like with the grip, and you just like have the screen coming out like that, and you can use it how you need to, and then you have your, like, it just makes more sense. Also, like, look at this, y'all. I need someone else to see this with me. So let's say I'm vlogging, right? So So I go, boom, put my little microphone on there. How nice. Come here to the side to open it up. Got this little flappy, whatever this flappy thing is. Like, okay, guys. And you pop your microphone in there. So now you have microphone sticking out, and you have flappy, right? And you go, guys. Come on, y'all. Look at how much this blocks the screen. Look at that. Like, that's like a good, it's not a lot, but like, it's literally a whole portion of the screen. But yet the SD card part has a removable door. But then on the X-T3, the side where your microphone goes has a removable door. Like, it would have made sense to keep this door. And I mean, okay, the mic would have still blocked the screen, but at least it would have just been the mic and not like this extra flappy piece. So yeah, the X-T4 is great, but for photos only, I would say don't. I would say stick with an X-T3. You're gonna get them at a better rate now. The batteries are still fine. Obviously, you have to buy a little bit more, but whatever. They're mirrorless cameras. We already know we're gonna have 50 batteries. So there's no point in us like getting up in arms about that. How many hours do you spend editing complete sets of a wedding? It kind of depends on if I can stay focused or not. I've finished a full wedding, and we're talking at least 1,000 photos in like 7 or 8 hours before, probably sooner. But generally I can edit a whole set in maybe like, generally couples get their photos back in like 3 to 4 weeks. But that's not me editing like every day. That's, you know, a couple hours here and there, because I also have other things to do and I have a family. So I can't just sit around editing all day. But yeah, especially if y'all have ever watched any of my live streams where I just edit, and I'm also not talking too much, like, it doesn't take that long to edit when you're really, really trying to edit like a wedding photographer. Like, you get it good in the camera for the most part, so that when you get back to the house to edit, you're not sitting there like, oh, let me nitpick this and let me nitpick that. You know, you're literally being like, boom, that looks good. Boom, take all these photos. Boom, synchronize them all. They all sync over. Cool, they all look good. These are the photos I'm sending. So you're literally like going through whole sets of photos in like a couple of hours. Like, even I had a family shoot I did, and I edited those photos because I ended up culling out 40. I edited that in like 45 minutes, not even, because it was all like the same scene, and the hardest part is like some of the white balancing and stuff. Funny about the flappy flange. I ranged out on my 5D Mark III once at a reception, and I just ripped it off the camera. Never that I was actually thinking about that too, because I was looking. Yeah, they're just like connected in there. You really could just rip them off. I don't understand. Like, I don't understand why they didn't put a door. They should have just put a door on the side. I mean, come on. How do you not, like, you know people are gonna do this. Like, you know that. Oh, but it's not really. See, I absolutely love Fujifilm. I love them so much. Like, diehard Fuji. I'm literally, y'all, I'm sitting here with like 4 cameras. So I'm recording. That's an X-T3. Here's an X-T4. Here's an X-T30. Here's an X-T3. Fujifilm. But like, some of these choices, it's almost like with the, what was it, the X Pro 4 with the flippy screen that makes it almost like it's you know, like a film camera, which is cool. It is super awesome, but it's like so niched down that they don't think about the overall market. So it's kind of the same thing here. They're like, oh, this isn't made for people doing vlogging. Not at all. It has a flip screen on it. But as a photographer or a videographer, someone's going to do this. Somebody is going to do this. Somebody. So, I mean, yeah. Do you sharpen your Fuji files in Lightroom? I do not. I just bought the Fuji X-T4 from the Canon 5D. Yeah, Team Fuji. So I sharpen all my photos in another program, Exposure. So I can actually, let me see if I can do it without destroying my computer. So like if I wanted to make this black and white, so here's the black and white, and then I'll go export it. When I export it, I do add a little bit of screen sharpening, but for the most part, as far as settings, I'm literally turned to 0. You can see it here, sharpening at 0. The only thing I have going on right now is a little bit of noise reduction and some detail, which is kind of sharpening. So I export that. I add screen sharpening low to it. We export it. During export, it's going to open up in Exposure. So at that point, it's a JPEG. So now here we are in our JPEG exported. And you can see the minimal sharpening on it from the screen sharpening, and just the fact that it's a JPEG. Then I have other little presets. These are just grain and sharpening presets. So like for my black and whites, I like them to look super, super grainy. So I have my black and white grain. You see it adds a little bit of contrast too. So I'll black and white it like that and add the grain. So then that's my sharpening. You can see the detail in the dress. And that's generally what I'll do. Then I save that. And that's how I sharpen. It's a little bit of an extra step, but it's really not that bad. Because you're talking like I'll finish, you know, I'll finish like 50 photos and then just export all 50 of the photos. I should be able to sync these settings. They are different cameras, so it may, oh, you know what? No, I'm not gonna do that. It's the X-T3 between the X-T4, and it's gonna be weird. So again, like if I was gonna do it, pull those shadows up just a bit so you can just barely see them in that silhouette. Take this thing out. I don't know what that is. I always hate like buildings be looking so nice and then there's always like some random thing. So yeah, so you have your photo. And then I export it. I'm gonna export this one full size so y'all can really see it. So full size, resolution is 300 ppi, sharpening 4 screen, and then exports. What do you find are the edits on RAW to avoid because there are worms? Will Lightroom ever fix the worms? I don't think they will. Pretty much how I dodge the worms is I don't sharpen inside of Lightroom. Because when you export just a JPEG with no sharpening on it, there's no worms. Like, it looks fine. And then I will add my sharpening and grain. I like my photos to be a little grainy. Whatever that red dot is, if I need to, I can go in and like heal stuff like that. And then, you know, I have this photo. There you go. Save it. Because you can even, let me see if I can show y'all real quick on an unedited photo. So here's an X-T4 photo. And we're gonna zoom way in, 3:1, and you can see our worms. It's actually even 4:1, maybe closer. No, that's fine. So by default, when you open your RAW files, you'll see here they have like sharpening already on them. So you see it's 40, just a little bit of sharpening. I don't know why, but I turn that down and see you can immediately see it go away. So here's our worms. If we turn sharpening up, you can clearly see them. Turn details down, that helps some too. You see how that just takes the worms away. And then if you also turn down the sharpening. So that's how I usually combat it, because I mean, yeah, that's pretty, like, look at that. And I mean, when you're not pixel peeping, you can't see it. So I don't know how detrimental that is, I guess. But yeah, it's pretty bad. Have you ever used Capture One? I have. I've been trying to convert the Natural Fills preset over to Capture One. I just find it not as fast as Lightroom. And obviously, like, I know Lightroom, so that kind of negates the whole thing, but I don't know, it's just, it seems so slow. Seems like such a slow program. But I probably just don't know how to use it still, so it seems so slow to me. Get these dope groom getting ready shots. I always love stuff like this. But yeah, I can't get down with Capture One. And I really tried. I really tried. Like, I want to, and I can't for some reason. So yeah, and yet again, talking about the X-T4 image quality. So I'm pretty sure this close-up is the X-T4. Yeah, these two are X-T4. This one is X-T3. And I mean, you know, I don't feel like they're that much different that it's like gonna change my whole life. I think both cameras look amazing. So yet again, if you're just wondering about the quality of the photos, X-T3, X-T4 are pretty comparable. They look great. Have you ever tried the 50mm f2? I have not, but the 56 is amazing. I will say, if you're doing video at all, don't go with the 56. It is the absolute worst for video. Like, it's the worst. It's bad. How's the low light autofocus on the X-T4? I didn't get a chance to really test it out. Yet again, this was since the pandemic. We can't really have full weddings, so there wasn't a full-blown like reception. We just went to their backyard at their house, and they kind of like ate and stuff. So it was still pretty much daytime. I've dabbled with Capture One. Seems like if you try to manage your library the way you do in Lightroom, things go poorly. Yeah, it's the library management and how I'm able to bulk edit seems like the advantage to Lightroom, at least to me. Capture One seems like it has overall quality of photos and stuff, but you're gonna be in there like nitpicking around and stuff, and I'm not doing that unless a photo needs it, which yet again, a wedding photographer, I'm taking thousands of photos and I need most of those photos to be as good as they're gonna be before I get to post. So I'm basically just color correcting with a preset, making sure the white balance looks good, maybe some cropping, and boom, on to the next one. I don't need to sit there and be like, let's make the photo. You know, if I was a portrait photographer or like a studio portrait photographer, yeah, capture one all day. You're working one photo at a time and you're working on one photo for like hours. Wedding photography, you're like boom, 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 boom. Cool, 1,500 photos. Next wedding. Especially if you're shooting like 30, 40 weddings a year, you can't sit there being like, oh, let me figure out how this looks. I don't really know if I like, no, man, you're just wasting all your time. Let's show y'all that export again. So 3 black and whites, 1 XT3, 2 XT4. We're gonna export. We're gonna do it full size. And then it's gonna open in exposure. There we go. So here are my 3 photos I exported. Yet again, they have a little bit of screen sharpening, which for some reason doesn't add worms. I don't understand. I guess it's because it's sharpening at the JPEG level maybe. And then after that, I'm adding my own sharpening and grain. And you saw it added a little bit of contrast on there as well. And so typically, like, just so y'all can see the whole process all together, what I'll usually do, because this section will have a good like 60, 70, maybe 100 photos, I just select everything and then just apply the preset here. Now, if it's color and then some black and white, I'll apply the color sharpening and then just go through and find my black and whites and then turn them to the black and white sharpening and then save this. So it's really not that much of an extra process. See that, add that little oomph right there at the end. Oh, get that grain. The grain and exposure is like top notch. It's so good. Thank you very much for your answer. Yes, I do videos, but in manual focus. So I think the 56 can be an option. Yeah, if you're doing manual focus, yeah, you can definitely use the 56. And the fact that it goes down to 1.2 is hands down one of the best options, yet again, if you need to let in more light. Like there was a shot, speaking of low light performance, let me see if I can find it. Y'all have seen it before. Oh, what am I doing? I don't even know what I'm doing. Wait, not 2020. It was last year. Who was it? Oh, goodness. Who was it? I did so many weddings last year, y'all. Oh, here it goes. Yeah. This shot right here, that was the 56. No additional lights. So I was probably up at like ISO like 14 or 1600 or somewhere in there. And then I had the 56 down at f1.2. So that 56 be in there. I have the 56 and X-H1. The manual focus with 56 is not good at all. Yeah, that's the thing then. Maybe the 50. Because yeah, I've never really used it for video. The ring is like, it's like super loose or something. you can't really dial in that focus. But yet again, I've never really used it personally. But yeah, here's good old 56. Oh, can you focus? Can you get me? Vintage or Nikkor glass video. Nice. Those are good tips because I might have to do that myself. I'm slowly venturing into more videos, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah. So that's about all for me today, y'all. I just wanted to come on here, take a look at some X-T4 photos with y'all, kind of get a better idea of how they look. And yeah, I'm pretty decided at this point that like the photo quality is basically the same. There's not really a big difference at all. They're looking just as good as the X-T3. Now, for some reason, the editing is a little different. I've noticed the colors come through just a little bit different. The X-T3 was a little weird. I also had to use Adobe Standard version 2 for the X-T3, which I'm not sure what that was about, but I mean, yeah, it's a great camera, but I'm still gonna use my X-T3s. I do absolutely love how quiet the X-T4 is though. It is dumb quiet. Like, people have no idea that I'm taking photos whatsoever. Oh, you know what too? And maybe I'll make a video about this. I actually don't know if I like the little, the tab to switch between video and photo. I don't think I like that. Cause, you know, the big hype that they were talking about is the fact that on the X-T4 you have a switch. And with that switch, your photo and video settings are fully separate. But I know with me at least, especially if I'm trying to hybrid shoot, what I kind of liked about the X-T3 is that my settings stay the same, but I just go into video. And even though they're still locked. I don't know why they hyped that up so much, like it was so different. I guess you just don't have to flip through all the different options. But like, you know, if I have my exposure dialed in already and then I switch to video, but then the video is like set to something else, I have to sit there and like switch my exposure back real quick. You know, it's just a lot. So I think the X-T4 is a great camera. If you're looking for a new camera, definitely get it. If you have an X-T3, I don't think it's totally worth it, especially if you just do stills. But for video, IBIS, all that stuff is great. And I'm probably going to do a review on it soon. I have a couple more events coming up, so I'll probably take it with me and shoot photos with it a couple more times to really get a feel for it. Because, you know, I have a full year of 40 weddings on the X-T3, so I know this thing like in and out. It's been my baby for a hot minute. But the X-T4, I'm new to it, so I want to get it under my belt a little bit and I can show my opinions. I'm going to be selling my X-T30, so I'm going to try and do a review on that before I get rid of it. And I have some footage and everything already, so I just have to get that together. So yeah, X-T4 is great. It's awesome for photo, but if you already have like an X-T3, I'd say keep it. I don't think the X-T4 is like the must-have photo still camera only. I would say stay with the X-T3. Unless you want killer battery life. All right, y'all. I'm about to head out. I'm a little under the weather myself. My throat hurts, so gotta get some more of this good old tea. The lodge in my throat a little bit. Lodging? I don't know the words. I don't know words. But yeah, thanks for hanging out, y'all. And I will catch you all next time. All right. Peace.